Hello, everyone, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 19th of June, 2023. It's Gary here, and I literally just got back from the 2023 NARSA convention in the lovely city of Toronto. And as you can maybe tell from my voice and the kind of sluggishness surrounding it, that I'm a wee bit tired from the whole entire experience. Right now, at the time of recording, what time is it? It's 9:35 p.m. on Monday evening. And I headed over to Toronto last Wednesday, early Wednesday morning. So it's been 5 or 6 days of pretty much non-stopness to ensure that all attending Blue Noses have the type and style of event that they're both expecting and wanting and hoping to have. And you know what, folks, I think we pulled off another one. And I will go through the events a little bit later on through the convention update, certainly the events that I attended, and provide a wee bit of a synopsis of the highlights, because that's really all that's been going on in my life over the last week, almost week anyway. Kind of like last week, yes, it's all about the convention, with a wee smidge of RTV and communication stuff thrown in there. But I did want to start off by saying a very happy Father's Day to all Blue Noses around the world for their day yesterday. I hope you got spoiled and or enjoyed your day or however you spent it. But to all Blue Nose dads out there, I hope you had a great time. Okay, so we'll start off with a wee bit of RTV. We do have our survey out right now, and we have a requested due date of completion and return of the survey to be this coming Friday. I received some information a wee bit earlier today from two clubs over in the Ontario region that they had not received the initial survey, and we're asking for access to the email again. So we are going to be sending out a reminder. Hopefully that'll be in your inbox tomorrow. Very, very simple to fill it in. You just need to consult with your memberships of your individual respective clubs, and then get the information back to us that we're hoping to be able to use. So what it basically is, we talked about this a wee bit at the AGM as well, which I'll get to in just a second here. But what we're looking for is your viewing and pricing preferences for your individual club for season 2023-24. And we did spend quite some time on the topic at the AGM on Saturday morning, to the extent where I got the impression that not everyone fully understood how we're trying to evolve the RTV service and NARSA as an organisation, as much as we possibly can to provide a little bit of flexibility. So I'm going to break it down a wee bit further here again, just as a recap, since it is almost survey deadline time. We did spend a bit of time talking about it at the AGM, and some people don't appear to have received the initial email as well. So prior to Saturday's AGM, the NARSA Constitution dictated the requirement to subscribe to all RTV services. Otherwise, your NARSA membership tier and the voting rights that you would have would be impacted. You would essentially be an associate member with no voting rights. We tabled a few notices of motion for constitutional amendments that were all accepted and voted into the Constitution that essentially removed this requirement. And once we make the updates to the actual literal Constitution, which will be early this week, I'll get those over to Chris, and hopefully tomorrow if I can. It will provide every NARSA club the freedom and flexibility to choose how and from where or from whom they receive their Rangers game feeds. The caveat that we discussed in the survey email, and that I specifically described on Saturday at the AGM, was that NARSA's overarching aim, of course, is to support and promote Rangers Football Club at every opportunity, and to ensure we're doing what we can when we can to ensure that all appropriate monies go directly to the club. So if a NARSA member club decides not to subscribe to RTV and instead gets a service, say for example they use their individual feed, or they get a service from somewhere else, a Fire Stick or whatnot, then you're not really supporting the club anymore, are you? So that's my views on it, and I've said that for a number of years now. So what we've asked of each club is to let us know where you stand in terms of your subscription preference, and we've provided some examples in the email here, and it was to, are you going to subscribe to all RTV matches? Are you going to subscribe to only, these are examples by the way, subscribe only to weekend matches with no midweek No midweek subscription there. Subscribe only to games that are on midweek, for example. Subscribe to only games that are exclusive to RTV, which is essentially basically all of our home games, or completely unsubscribe from RTV's NARSA services altogether. So those were some examples, something along those lines. But each club may fall under a different requirement, and all we really need to know is, based on your membership, based on your historical viewing numbers and your anticipation of what season 2023-24 looks like in terms of people coming through the door, what you think the best packaging will be, and what that will look like for your club, and how much your club can realistically afford to pay per game that you subscribe to. We'll then collate that information per club, and we'll see what the model looks like for next season in terms of admin, and NARSA admin this is now, and financial management support going forward. I don't think for right now, at least anyway right now, that NARSA are getting completely out of the RTV business in this season, but we do need to wait and see what clubs come back with, and then I'll be able to confidently tell you and factually tell you what it looks like as we move forward. So more to come on that in the coming weeks. But I genuinely, truly hope that the freedom and flexibility that we have introduced for each club will help them in some way to continue either to use RTV as their service and game provider of choice, or pick something else that's just as appropriate for them as a club. But hopefully, as I say, that it will involve some level of support for RTV to be able to continue to support the club as best as we can. For shout outs for this week, I did want, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to do a shout out to anyone at the convention who messaged me or emailed me or even talked to me directly asking me for some sort of assistance or help or support. I hope I was able to help most of the folks out that did ask, and if not, if I just disappeared on them or ghosted you or something, that you managed in some way to get support from someone less flaky than me, someone a wee bit more available. I wasn't quite up on my emails as much as I typically am on a regular given day, and sometimes I just ended up, I would get asked one thing at one side of the hall, I'd get asked something at the other side of the hall, I would forget in between and get asked a third thing in the middle of the hall as I was going to try and deliver on the first or the second thing. The events are just so time consuming and things can fall through the cracks a wee bit. Now, on this vein, on this very topic, I was asked to see if we could get up a flag for one of the Rangers Supporters Club from Lark Hall, and for some reason the hotel just didn't get around to doing it for us, and I got the appropriate amount of jibes and assassinations on my character as a direct result of that, and threats to my life. Joking, of course, the guys were absolutely brand new with me about it and understood it, and were just thankful that the flag actually wasn't lost in and of itself. But that is it is a bit of a downer that we couldn't manage to get it up for them, because it's always a very proud moment to see a flag up there on the wall alongside other clubs from across the entire globe. So to the Larkhall guys, I do apologise for that, and I hope it didn't spoil your weekend overall, and we will make sure, if you're coming to join us in New York next year, that you get your flag up in pride of place in a very, very prominent spot for that. Second and final shout out for this week is to a very special person, and maybe when I say special, that's not in such a complimentary or good way this time. I messaged David Edgar, our MC for the event this morning, as I received some information from Big Andy Carey that David was planning on leaving Toronto, Canada today. And I thought, that's interesting, because I could have sworn that he was checking out tomorrow, because I was looking down the list that we provided to the hotel. There was only one person checking out on the 20th, and it was him. So I messaged him to ask, saying, hey, good morning, hope you're doing well. Just double checking that you're checking out today. If you're checking out today, I'll get the Uber ordered for you to get to the hotel. To get to the airport by 3 o'clock, I think it was. I said something like that. So he says, yep, checking out 7:15 p.m. flight. I'll see you in a bit, or something like that. And then I says, okay, right, okay. I thought you were checking out tomorrow. And then he got back to me within about 5 minutes. I won't say the language he used on his text, but it was along the lines of, oh dear, I'm quite shocked by that. I didn't realise. You are right, Gary. And it's not very often I'm wrong, to be dead honest with you folks, so I'm surprised they even doubted me in the first place. But yeah, he made a rip-roaring arse of it, and he is staying an extra day. He'd already packed his case and all sorts. Everything was all away. He had to phone his missus and tell his missus Sally that he wasn't going to be home for an extra day. So I don't know what his plans were. I think he did say he was going to go maybe watch the England game in the afternoon and then just maybe kind of chill and kill a bit of time as the day progressed. But he got an extra day there. He did look into trying to get home on the actual flight that he thought he was on, but it was an extra £700 or something like that, so he wasn't going to bother doing that and just stay that extra day. So if you folks are Heart and Hand subscribers and were in some way expecting him to be on the daily update tomorrow or maybe Wednesday, I think you might be waiting until a wee bit later in the week, because the guy can't read an itinerary obviously that well, Special, as I said, very, very special, David. Okay, so on to the convention update for NARSA 2023. Well, that one is now formally in the history books, and we'll be working over the next 3-4 weeks to complete our lessons learned and our financial reconciliations and see where we come out in terms of a profit or a loss. Based on early numbers, it looks like this particular convention will have run at a loss, but I can explain more about that one prior to the start of the season and give you a bit of an idea of how that all worked out for us. But we don't have all the numbers or facts and figures just yet. But as I say, early indications before the polls close are that maybe it wasn't running at a profit, but we'll see how that looks. So onto the events. Wednesday was the first unofficial event of the convention, and just the way that we say that is that there's certain things organised by the host club and there's certain things organised by NARSA. So we call the NARSA ones the official events and anything else the unofficial events. So really and truly the only official events that actually take place is the Thursday welcome night, the Friday Tam Plunkett Blue night, the Saturday AGM, and then the Saturday Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet. Everything else is unofficial, but it's done in very much in collaboration, of course, with the host club, and has a bit of a NARSA flavour to it, of course, as well, because we like to help out as much as we can. So yeah, Wednesday was the first unofficial event at Gatherings, which is now Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club's new home, and it was a great night. The pub had it literally just opened days before the event, and they did a great job in serving us under probably what were quite rushed conditions or considerations for them. We had Willie Henderson and David Edgar join the Toronto Midtown RSC guest of honour and now confirmed honorary president or honorary chairman. I can't remember exactly what the title is, my apologies, but they awarded that to Gordon Smith. And there was a wee ceremony to announce that and some raffles and such, and it was a great start and hopefully a wee boost for the pub in their opening week and of course for the host club too. But yeah, we got a chance to ease into that. That was a lot of fun. Thursday afternoon, we managed to squeeze a bunch of beers into our Blue Room bar in the hotel and had some catch-ups in the afternoon. And Thursday night was the first official night, our welcome night. And that was a great night where we had DJ Cy Leslie. Here's an interesting tidbit about Cy. Cy this year has just done NARSA. He is going to be doing ORSA in the middle of next month, and he's going to be doing ERSA, which I believe is around about September, October time this year. So I was just saying to him yesterday at the leaving do that I think he might be the only person that's actually doing all three events, like literally attending and performing, providing the DJ support for NARSA, ORSA and ERSA this year. So that's quite incredible, and obviously he's very well thought of. He did a great job in the whole weekend, very, very helpful behind the scenes and things like that as well, so and then we had David Edgar conduct what I thought was an absolutely brilliant Q&A with the 4 VIP guests, Mark Haitley, Willie Henderson, Andy Gray and Gordon Smith. And I can't quite put my finger on why I thought this one was so great, other than the information shared, of course, and how well managed it was by David. We found out a wee bit more about the circumstances in which Mark Haitley had signed and the kind of lengths that Graham Souness had gone to get him to sign with us. So it was just a combination of a whole bunch of stuff like that, but it was fantastic. I thought it was brilliant. It really was. And Thursday, David was controlling the questions and then opened it up for Friday to do another Q&A on Friday. And sometimes we don't do that, sometimes we're just like, we covered it last night, let's just move on with other things. But what we did was open it up to the guests, and everyone had an opportunity on Friday to ask questions and the like as well. And we did have some special requests from the VIPs not to video the Q&A, and it was a wee bit awkward to be dead honest, because we weren't expecting that, but something that we'll certainly take on board and manage more proactively from next year onwards. It was basically like, don't film this, folks, so that we can be as honest and open as possible, so that the content doesn't get inadvertently, intentionally, or otherwise used to discredit the VIP or the event even, and of course, so that you can actually just put your phone down and enjoy it real time, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, as well. So we got that organised and kind of ironed out on Thursday, so that didn't become an issue again for the remainder of the time. Friday morning was the golf, and I didn't attend the golf this year, and what I'd said for many, many years, or actually until last year, was that I would golf as long as my dad was there. It was my dad and I's chance to just spend 4 or 5 hours together, have a bit of a laugh, get some sunshine, have a beer, and just, as I say, spend some time together. And now that he's gone, I didn't choose to golf this year, but I was informed that it was a brilliant time, a wee bit smaller in terms of numbers than other convention golf events, but that didn't make it any less enjoyable or fun for everybody that I spoke to that was part of it. And the winners were Andy Gray's team, and boy did he ever never shut up about that afterwards. And I believe Brian McManus from Toronto number 1 and Phil Reid, who I believe is Toronto Midtown member, were also part of the winning team. I can't remember for the life of me the fourth person, and I do apologise about that, but I'll maybe do a bit of a shout out for that next week when we get the name. But yeah, they won the golf, and they had a good time. We also had the Blue Room Bar, which was a wee bit quieter on the Friday Open as well, but still a good wee congregation place and a catch up as well. That was kind of fun. Friday night was the Tam Plunkett Blue Night, of course, and that was brilliant. And we had the Q&A again, as I mentioned, with questions from the floor, and it went a wee bit quicker this time. I think we were kind of just, by the time we got the VIPs in, by the time we got them set up to do what they wanted to do, and then to get them out of there before the Pride of the Rock flute band came on. It was great, and they came on, did a few sets, which included, of course, heading outdoors to the famous Toronto sign outside and across the street there. And I was following them, and then I missed that particular part of it. I ended up going out the valley side, wasn't 100% sure where my bearings were, couldn't hear the band when I got outside, but I heard it was an absolutely brilliant time. I've seen some photographs online and stuff like that, and it seems like the band were absolutely thrilled to be able to do that as well. And of course, as is typical for Fridays, it ended up being a little bit of a later one, I don't mind admitting, which always then makes Saturday morning a wee bit more heavy, I should say, fraught or painful, something like that. But it was a fantastic time. And one thing I did want to mention was we did ask in the lead up there, it was a wee bit late in getting organised, but if we had anyone who was going to be taking a bunch of photographs, if they could give us access to that, get in touch with myself or get in touch with our communication director, Lorraine Spence, and give us what we need to be able to, just to promote and really kind of showboat the event a wee bit, even if it is slightly after the fact. Saturday morning was, of course, our AGM, and we went for an earlier start on this one, and it was a 10 a.m. start. We managed to get through everything that we needed to get through and that we planned to get to, but as I kind of alluded to earlier there, it did end up taking a wee bit longer due to some of the discussions that we were having around RTV and the intent and spirit of what it is we're doing, around the constitution changes that I'd talked about a wee while ago as well. And we did spend a bit of time talking about whether attending clubs had paid their dues or not, which was a wee bit of admin that had came up at the general meeting back in February there, and it was just something, a wee bit of a hangover. It spent actually a wee bit too much time talking about that, but we got through what we needed to get through with that, with the voting members in attendance, so there was no issue there. And then we did have an election for the first time. Actually, it might even be the first time that we've had an election during my tenure as on the. Well, no, I guess I was involved in an election for 2018, but first time I think I've actually overseen one as well. So it was nice to be able to get that experience as well, and that was for the treasurer and we had a well, maybe I'll get to that in a wee second there, but there was a bit of a sequence of events that happened that kind of emerged over the last couple of weeks leading up to the AGM, which then culminated in Lorraine Spence being confirmed via acclamation as the communications director in the week leading up to the convention itself. So basically just last week there. And then we had Andy Burnett and Fraser going for other roles. Andy Burnett went for treasurer. Fraser had put his name in the hat for secretary at that particular point. And then, as it all turns out, that the incumbents for both of those roles ended up staying in role. And I'll talk about that just in a wee second here. So the new executive for the next 2 years will be the president is me, and I know I purposely didn't talk about that as we were leading up to the convention, just just because it wasn't hugely relevant to what was going on elsewhere. But I think that's now going to be my 8th and 9th years as president over the past 11 years, and no, maybe it's not. Maybe it's the 6th and 7th, because I was vice president for the first couple of years, then past president. That's probably what it is. But I have to say, folks, that was definitely not my plan at the outset when I got involved. I thought I'd be history by now, and the ability to just look back and say, oh, I remember I used to do that, many years ago. But I did confirm at the AGM that this term as president, it has to be my last term, as I do have other things going on in my life, like Leo, like Erin, like my leadership coaching career and my job, and the association does need a wee bit of freshening up at the helm as well, I reckon. So yeah, very, very happy, very privileged to be serving again, and really looking forward to the next couple of years. We've got some monumental things planned over the next couple of years, and so I'm very glad to be involved in that. Our vice president is Brian Campbell from Orange County Rangers Supporters Club. Our secretary is now confirmed again as Sandra Hawthorne from Toronto Number 1 Rangers Supporters Club. And what basically happened was, in the lead up to the week, Sandra had a bit of a change of heart. Ultimately, some things had kind of worked out for her in terms of her personal life, in terms of her professional life, and I think, hopefully we tugged on her heartstrings a wee bit, to say, are you sure you want to leave this, and then she did have an independent change of heart in the lead up to that. And then what Fraser did then was, Fraser says, you know what, I'm not going to compete with Sandra. If Sandra wants to be in there, Sandra should be in there. So he gracefully bowed out of that. Our treasurer is Alec Grant from the Big Apple Bears Rangers Supporters Club, and he also had a very, very late dramatic twist of events at the very end, and decided he wanted to stick around. And very similar actually to Sandra, he had a work and kind of personal converging of luck or circumstance. I don't know what words you want to use, but it came to pass that he was then able to actually serve, and he was willing and prepared to do that as well. So we had a wee bit of late drama. I talked a few weeks back on the pods of we've only got one election that's going on, and that's going to be for the communication director. And then we had some of that flurry of activity that I just talked about there, and then we got to a point where the actual election ended up only being for treasurer, and Andy Burnett from Toronto Midtown had put himself up for that. Both guys got an opportunity to talk just before the actual election took place. The election took place, and then Alec was confirmed as the successful candidate for the next couple of years. So it was dramatic. It was funky. It was fun. And it was good, as I say, to have that exposure and experience as well. Our convention director, Billy Ferguson from Windsor True Blues Rangers Supporters Club. Our communications director, as I mentioned, is Lorraine Spence from London Rangers Supporters Club. Our RTV broadcast director was confirmed before it in absentia, and that's Alan McWatt from Orange County Rangers Supporters Club. And our marketing and sponsorship director is Nicola Fatkin from Cambridge True Blues Rangers Supporters Club as well. So yeah, it's great to have everyone on board. We do have a wee bit of freshness in there and a little bit of changing of roles in one area. So we do have it's not completely stagnant or stale or anything like that. And once we get over this circumstance of being very tired right now, we'll get an opportunity to get together very soon. We'll do the lessons learned. We'll get the new person up to speed, and then we'll just move on with our business as the summer progresses here. So what that meant was, and I mentioned that briefly there, we did have an opportunity to say a fond goodbye to Fraser Muir from Vancouver downtown. Rangers Supporters Club, who had filled the role of communications director for the past year. And I did place my record at the AGM. I did place on record, sorry, at the AGM. My sincere thanks to Fraser for his service, and we wish him all the very, very best for the future. Thanks again for everything that you did during your time with us, Fraser. And we also had a wee bit of a change on the social media front, which is of course under Lorraine's communications portfolio going forward, with Andy Carey relinquishing his social media responsibilities after I think we confirmed it was a nine years service in the role, and to really help us establish a massively strong foothold on our social media strategies. And he's now passed the reins on to Connor Gunn, who's from the former Sarnia club and the Sarnia area as well. So we did try to get some time to sit down and pass over logins and passwords and strategies, and just generally kind of catch up on next steps. But I always underestimate how time flies at these events, so that didn't happen the way that we wanted. I did get to introduce both guys to each other on Saturday, which was at least one thing, but we will make it happen once Andy's back and settled from his trip to New York, which I'll talk about in just a wee bit here. Saturday afternoon, we're only at Saturday afternoon, folks. I think there was 4 events running almost simultaneously on Saturday afternoon after the AGM was finished, and the first one was the Scotland versus Norway game, which, what a dramatic ending and what a sensational result for Scotland in that as well. The second one was the Amsterdam Brewery Tour. The third one was the Absent Friends football match, and then the fourth one was an afternoon event that was organised by Toronto number 1 club, Rangers Supporters Club, featuring the Pride of the Rock flute band as well. So that's lots and lots and lots of choice for all the attendees, and I hope that everyone who was there managed to attend the event that you wanted, and you didn't get the old FOMO, the fear of missing out, for the ones that you couldn't attend. I did go to the football, which I wasn't planning on going. I wasn't doing anything on Saturday afternoon other than just catching up and getting prepared and ready for the evening, but I got roped into it as Andy Gray's assistant. He says, "You're my assistant, wee man," and if Andy Gray says you're assistant to him, then you're assistant to him. And so we went there, and it was at Toronto FC's training facilities, which was a wee bit of a trek from the hotel, about 45 minutes or so. But I'm there ready to just coach on the sidelines, have a great laugh, do some interviews with David Edgar, who was also covering the football as well, and certainly not expecting to play. But then I ended up playing, and I ended up playing in my dress trainers and my dress shorts, due to some last minute call-offs, and just to make up the numbers. And so that was fun. It was actually very fun. It was good. We played to a thoroughly entertaining 3-3 draw in pretty scorching heat, I have to say, and it was a solid competitive match, which was kind of a fluke because the teams hadn't been fully set up, prior to that. But we managed to have a good balance, between the blue team, which was my team, and the red team. And I think the good news is, from my perspective, I think I was only at fault for 2 of their 3 goals, which is good shooting for me, folks. I don't mind saying that. And if you haven't already heard about my miss, I'm sure you will at some point down the road. Maybe I'll even get Andy Gray on this show, to tell us sometimes about his version. As I've said, since the actual incident, I've had to kind of defend my position quite a few times since the actual incident in and of itself. People remember things differently, and my version doesn't exactly match what Andy thought happened, and what Mark Haitley, who was the red team coach, what his version was either. And when the opposing coach, states publicly that a player on the opposing team, and it was me he was talking about this time, was his team's best player, I think that tells you all you need to know. I think it was great fun, unexpected playing time, and a genuine and real. I had a genuine and real presence and influence on both the game and the scoreline, so I'm not sure I could ask for much more from my performance, and I think we'll just maybe leave it at that. And Saturday evening, we then had the pre-Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet executive reception to give the host club volunteers an opportunity to mingle with the VIPs in a bit more of a private setting, and to toast their success in hosting and managing the event. Followed then, of course, by the Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet in and of itself, and it was a really nice meal, a brilliant night with some terrific music by the band that the Toronto Midtown folks had selected, called Blood Rose or Blood Roses, I think. Apologies if I've got that wrong. and it was a fitting end to the formal events for the weekend. I had the privilege, I think I mentioned last week, of sitting with my beautiful niece at the top table, Chloe, who had a blast and really, really enjoyed it. And we managed to keep the speeches short and also managed to formalise the handover of the ceremonial gavel from Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club to the Big Apple Bears Rangers Supporters Club to officially kick-start the You're It part of convention planning. And just actually a wee quickie on who I was sitting with at the top table. I was trying to count how many folks I've managed to get to the top table during my 11 years, as my plus one, during my 11 years on the NARSA executive. And I think I'm going to, this might not even be in order, but I think I've had my brother-in-law Andy, I've had the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary Vice President Alec Liddell, my sister Debbie, my dad, my love Erin, and now Chloe. So really from the suite of those folks, the only one who is missing is Leo. He was at the convention in 2018, but he didn't sit at the top table with me. So maybe he says he's going to go to New York next year, so maybe he might be it for New York. Who knows? We'll see. We'll figure that out. But it is very, very cool to be able to share the experience with friends and loved ones and create memories that we'll be able, quite honestly, to reminisce about in the years to come when this is all in the rear view mirror and in the hands of other capable blue noses to lead and manage it. But I love it. It was absolutely fantastic. And then Sunday saw two events take place, with the first one being the Leaving Do in the Waterfall Gardens at the host hotel, the Sheraton Centre. And we were again entertained by Cy Leslie, and he put some game footage on as well, like, for example, Helicopter Sunday and just the commentary and stuff like that. That was brilliant. So it just still brings, chills when you hear that, how it actually all unfolded. And of course, the Pride of the Rock flute band were there as well. The weather was just absolutely gorgeous yesterday, and the patio space we had was brilliant, very spacious. And if you wanted to be able to get in the shade, you got in the shade. If you wanted to be in the sun, you got to spend some time in the sun as well. And it's basically just an opportunity and a chance to say cheerio to friends with a promise to see each other next year in New York City. And hopefully this time next year we will be having some shiny trophies, to get our photographs taken with and stuff like that, if everything works out the way that we hope it does with Michael Beale. And the second event was the annual Father's Day barbecue that was hosted by Bramalea Rangers Supporters Club. They put that on every year, and they had asked if there was any possibility that we could get a VIP presence there. When I realised quite quickly into the conversation they weren't actually talking about me, they were talking about the genuine VIPs. I wasn't massively motivated from that point onwards. Kidding, of course. We did manage to secure VIP presence. In fact, at one point we had all the VIPs at both events, so that was fantastic, and a chance for them to see a wee bit more of the city and a wee bit more of the kind of Rangers identity in the city as well, and also just to spread the convention love a little bit wider. It was a absolutely fantastic day, a really, really fun day, and we even managed to squeeze in a Heart and Hand live show at the Bramalea Club with David Edgar hosting and interviewing Mark Haitley, Andy Gray and myself, which was basically another excuse for both Andy and Mark to roast me for what they remember about the football. But it was brilliant crack, brilliant fun, and a great way to end the festivities. And I left there and went straight to the Ed Sheeran concert, just to finish off the event with a bit of a family time and a bit of a concert for a guy that I wanted to see for a wee while. And of course, you can never please everyone, and I've already received complaints about pretty much everything, and pretty much every single day, about the events, the official or unofficial events, about the VIPs, about the optics of what we're doing with the VIPs, about the whole entire organisation, about the loudness, about the heat, about the coldness, about the beer prices, about the soft drink prices, about the event security, about the meal, about the entertainment, about clubs overcharging for games 9 years ago and stuff like that, and actually, another one, the fact that we haven't done a convention in a destination like Cancun yet as well. So nothing has massively changed there, and I'm taking it all in, and I'm taking it as a win, because I'd much rather hear about this stuff than have folks suffer in silence and maybe go away a wee bit disgruntled. And I'm kind of semi-jesting about the complaints, like there was comments made, and I'm just kind of overdoing it a wee bit here. But overall, it was a tremendous convention and enjoyed by everyone I spoke to. They had a tremendous time. So that's that's great, and it's testimony to the hard work and endeavour that Andy Burnett, John Dalrymple, and the entire Toronto Midtown team put on and put in, the effort they put in, and the NARSA executive, of course, as well, just in the supporting there. So the Sheraton Centre hotel staff were incredible to work with too, and that made our jobs a lot easier as well. Just a wee bit of an update on the NARSA 2024 in New York City. We are working hard with our preferred hotel of choice, which is in Times Square, to get ourselves into a position where we can formally sign the contract and then communicate the absolute confirmed dates. And what I can tell you right now is that we do have a soft hold on dates at the hotel for the 30th of May to the 1st of June 2024. Now, if those end up being the dates, if that's actually true, I can officially confirm that it's 346 days from today until New York City goes fully red, white and blue the proper way, folks. We did pop out a wee teaser or two on our social media channels, letting followers of each of our social media platforms know of the dates and such, but also with a caveat that we haven't signed anything yet, so please don't book any travel based on that until the ink is dry on the contract. I've had numerous conversations with the hotel sales executive, and myself, Brian, Alec and Billy also met with him collectively on Friday afternoon to continue our discussions on the particulars. And just this afternoon, actually, we did have a site visit walkthrough with Alec Grant, who had headed back down to New York. He lives there, and my sister and brother-in-law, Debbie and Andy, were there, and they flew down there for a wee extended holiday. So as a direct result of that, we now have had boots on the ground around the property and an opportunity to talk with the sales and events folks there, to get to see it. And the feedback we've got was great. The photographs they've shared are great, some videos as well, and the fact that they know who we are, they know what we want and what we need, and they kind of seem to know what they're doing as well. So that's always brilliant news for us as well. So yeah, a wee bit of a teaser for 2024, and that will of course be the theme for the convention update every time as we go forward. Just on the communication section, and by the way, this is what I remember from the convention. Maybe next week I'll remember something else, and the week after I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, that's right. That's, so stay tuned. That's not the end for NARSA 2023. But on the comms front for this past week, I think the only thing I really wanted to talk about was just the news from across the city that they've reappointed. I thought it was an odd move, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. Brendan Rodgers as the manager. And so Michael Beale, I believe, will probably have perhaps an even more stern test awaiting him for next season. Now, you have a confirmed serial flop in the English Premiership manager as their manager, and I'm sure he'll be anticipating coming back to Scotland to rebuild his reputation like he did last time, and like he was able to do last time. The difference is now that he has Michael Beale in the hot seat at Ibrox, and we're not in, still really truly in the midst of wholesale rebuilding of the club like we were last time as well. I did want him to hang on a wee bit longer so that Stevie G could actually beat him, because it seemed like Stevie G was just having the measure of him at that point. So I was a wee bit disappointed that he left when he did, because he took that opportunity away. But I do really welcome the chase for next season and can't wait to see how things unfold in our quest for 56. I'm very, very confident. And if we weren't motivated before, which I know we were, this is going to add a wee bit of extra incentive. So bring it on big time is what I say. I think that's going to do it, folks. I need to get to my bed. I am very, very tired. We'll get this one popped out tomorrow morning. I'll pass it over to Chris just now to do the packaging and things like that. And that'll do it for this week, my friends. As always, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with anyone that you think might enjoy it. And until next week, for the local host club and all the convention attendees, thank you so much for everything that you did to make the event an absolute success, and take a very well-deserved breather now. That's exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be back fighting fit and raring to go next Monday. So until then, take care of yourself, okay, folks, and all the very best. Cheerio.